How you doing, everybody? We've got Saber class. I think this is week 5. So I'm going to give people a little bit of time to filter in. I'm going to kind of start my warm-up while I'm waiting. Slide over here. Hello, Kathleen. Longtime friend of Level Up Sabers. You guys should follow Kathleen. She is a part of the Funny Fun Science Fiction podcast, which was one of the very first interviews I ever got after joining TikTok. And so let's just shout her out for just a little bit. If you're not already following her in the Funny Science Fiction pod, you should do that. All right. So, first part of the warm-up. 2 hands from the high guard down to parallel. And we're going to do 10 of these. 2, 3. And I've got my fingers sticking out, not because I want them to get chopped off, but so you can tell sort of what happens with my hands as I go through the moves. Because otherwise it's really hard to notice some of the subtle things. And so I've got these sticking out just so that you can tell you don't need to stick your fingers out. But so feet just kind of neutral. I want my weight about even. Make sure my knees are bent. 3, 4. I got a little bit more wobble than normal today. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're gonna pin this one. There we go. So after we get a little bit of warm up, then we're gonna do some of this is technique, but it's also strengthening. And so I'm gonna start parallel to the floor with my non-dominant hand on the bottom of the handle. I come up to high guard, and so I've got like a slight slope back. I don't want it to be flat, and I don't want it to go behind me. I want to be right here. And I'm just going to trace a straight line down. There's 1. We're going to do 10 of these. I want to go nice and smooth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, if I feel it up here before I feel it in my back, I'm using the wrong muscles. And so like the top here is your deltoid. I actually want to use the bottom of my scapula, the bottom of my shoulder blade, and have that pull to lift my arm. Can't remember if that's 9 or 10, so we're going to do one more just in case. 10. Then we do the other hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Everybody that's just joining us, we got a live lightsaber class, and we're just building a warm up and building some drills. So that with your lightsaber at home, you can do the things you need to do. As we finish the warm-up, I'm going to do a little bit of spinning work today. The Obi Ante is always people's the first thing they want to chase. And so we're going to get to that today as well. All right. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for liking, thank you for sharing. I'm seeing stuff pop up. I really appreciate it, guys. I'm still very, very new to going live. And so I know all of that stuff helps. I don't know the algorithm for it, so to speak. All right, I'm gonna do my forwards and backwards now. And so I come from the high guard. I wanna make sure my shoulder blades are going down, almost like I'm trying to stick them into my back pockets. Mike, there is a trick that uses a level wand that I'm not going to be doing, but you can use a level wand to do that. Okay. So the forward and back. I'm gonna come up, shoulder blade sliding down my spine. I go forward, 1. I come up, go backward, 2. Go up, forward, 3. Back, 4. 5. 6. 7. Oop, 8. 9. 10. All right. And that was doing just the pull step. If you haven't seen the pull step yet, it is, I'm gonna back way up to here. Going forward, I take the front foot out, pull the back foot up, and go in the other direction. I take the back foot first, pull the front foot in. Kenny, welcome in, buddy. Now I'm gonna do my 10 with shuffles. So I'm gonna lift, shuffle, 1, lift, shuffle, 2, lift, 3. And so this is a 2-step now. 4, 5, oops, 6, 7, there we go, 8, 9, 10. KB, welcome, welcome. All right. For right now, always lift first and then step. And so you don't want to lift while you're stepping, you want to lift first, then step. And we'll explain why as we get in deeper. All right, now, we're going to go through the strikes, and we'll get to 9. I can't remember if we did 9 at the end of last week or not, but we'll do that as a part of today before we do spinning. All right, so the 9 strikes, basically you're gonna do an asterisk, okay? So if you're in a position where you don't have a lot of space and you can't train, take your blade off. Just use the handle. Go through the motions. That's all right, it still works, and then your ceiling fans will thank you. Ceiling fans. Ceiling fans and lightsabers do not mix. Oh, KB, I appreciate that. Thank you. So, 9 strikes. Here we go. So I'm going to do these one-handed first because it makes it a little easier to kind of see what's going on. And so the 1 strike, we want to come straight down. And then the 2 strike goes up. 3, I've got the weapon in my dominant hand, so I'm going to start from the non-dominant shoulder, down and across. All right? And then 4 is the same line back in the other direction. 5, we're going to do horizontal. 6 is horizontal the other way. 7 is going to be the upward diagonal. So I'm always starting from the non-dominant side, basically. And then 8 comes down, and that's our conclusion. And then the 9th strike is a stab. Okay? So I'm going to start from the high guard, and then we're going to do the base 8 strikes, keeping the tip forward in between. So as I transition, I've got 1, come straight down. I keep the tip forward, 2, keep the tip forward, 3, forward, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we're going to do the set where I turn the hand over, and it's going to be obvious the difference then. If you're not understanding about keeping the tip forward as you change direction, you're changing your arm angle, but not necessarily moving the point of the weapon. This time we're going to move the point of the weapon, so it's going to change your arm angle a ton. All right, so ready? 1, turn it over, 2. Turn it over, 3, turn it over, 4, turn it over, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now from the side, it's really clear. 1, 2, 3. So I turn the hand, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so you want to develop both skills. You want to be able to build out keeping the point towards where you're attacking as you transition from one strike to another strike, because that can kind of force the person not to be able to necessarily enter that space in front of you. But also sometimes you need to be able to change your hand in what direction you're facing as you move from a counter or a defense or whatever. Okay. We did those. All right, I promise we'll do 9 today. And so the straight strike, we're going to use the step through, which we worked on a couple of weeks ago. But so for the step through, all I'm going to do is take whichever foot is back, that foot steps forward, and then a lot of times you're kind of swinging the leg forward and then adding like a pull step to it. So rather than just stepping through and leaving the front leg as the plant leg, so that's the step through, what I'm going to do with it is use it to get a little bit of extra distance. And so rather than just stepping to here, where that's as far as the point can go, I'm going to, and then I can tap you guys, okay? So from the side, the idea is the leg is going to step through. It becomes a little bit like a fencing lunge, okay? The point is to always keep the opponent on point. All right, so for the stab, there's a couple of different mechanics that are going to come into place with this, and we'll bring Bob in just a moment. But so what I want to be able to do is hands come up and through, the middle, not the side. So I don't want to come from back here to the center this way, because if I do that as I'm moving, I'm not clearing the space in front of me. I'm allowing the other person to keep control of the middle. And so what I want to do to force myself into the middle is this comes up and turns over, right? So what my hands do okay. And that can be a little bit difficult motion to get used to, and so that's going to take some practice, but that's okay. But what you'll find is that if I go from middle guard, which we've used before, if I move back to this rear low guard, notice as I'm standing back here, I've got the point of the weapon going that way. I don't have it to the side. I don't want to give you a really clear indication of where it is in space. I want to take that angle of viewing away from you. So that it makes it harder to judge spacing so that you have a harder time with the timing. So if I'm trying to stab you, I don't want it to be easy for you to prevent being stabbed, right? So as we move back, I take this up through the middle, and I let this reach out in front of me before I step and follow it. Just trying to give you guys just enough depth perception that this is helpful. Up through the middle, turn the hands over, follow. Okay? Does that make sense? I know a lot of people can't be necessarily following along right now in the moment. Any questions so far? All right. And so what you should be able to do for spacing, because this is one of the ways we're going to work on accuracy. What can you guys see? Can you see this? No, that's out of frame. You can see that. Okay, so I have a bag right here. To work on accuracy, what I'm going to do is put a spot on that bag, and I want to put it right at about here. my height to its height. And so I can use a piece of painter's tape, I can use a marker or whatever. Okay? Depending on what it is that you're going to be aiming at, make sure it's something that if you accidentally hit it harder than you mean to, isn't going to be broken and lost forever if it's something you're going to be sad about losing. And make sure it's something that if you give it a little bit more energy than you intend to, it's not going to fall into something that's valuable, right? So, you got whatever my target is, and I put the point about even with like the space between my collarbones. I'm going to take a full step back, and then my other foot steps back through. Now, from here, I take my hands first. As they turn over, my foot follows, and then I want to just touch the spot. Okay? Now, I think it was the very first session. So this, the very end here, is just a little higher than I need it to be. So I can either practice hitting just above the very end or whatever. Next week, I'll use the microphone. I didn't even think about how much the audio was going to adjust as I moved around the room. There's so much echo in here in general, it'll probably help with that too. All right, so the stab, and we're going to use a swinging target so that there's no lie. I can't, like, physics is going to tell me the truth about what I'm doing. So I do my full step back, and now I'm going to come through. And I want to just touch, okay? Because if I'm working with a partner, I want to be able to control my distance. And if I can't, I shouldn't be working with a partner yet, or my partner needs to invest in some protective equipment, like we should be wearing a throat guard, we should be wearing face protection, all that kind of stuff. Okay? So once you have this spacing, you can probably go just a little bit farther away. So that then my front foot is actually going to step out as my hands come through, and then my right foot follows, and I'm right there. And you start learning this with the stab, and eventually all of your other strikes can incorporate this same footwork, and these are sort of your longest range tools, so to speak. Okay? So, stab. I'm going to do this at an angle this time, give you guys a little bit different depth perception. Now there's a space right in between, and that is what I'm going to aim for. I was a little bit off to the side because I bumped this end of the tail. I have no idea if you could tell on camera or not. That's how I got it. So those are two ways that you can kind of work on your control with the stab, so that when you get to the point where you're practicing with a partner, you don't stab anybody in the throat. You do not, if you are constructing duels, constructing stage combat, you want to use stabs minimally in performances, because if you have a weapon that is structurally sound enough to deal with impacts, then you have a weapon that is structurally sound enough that if the end goes against somebody's body, they can get really seriously injured. And so these types of swings are easier to manipulate and control and pull in a way that makes the other person safe. Stabs, because you lose depth perception, because it's a straight line, and especially if it's something like a sword or a spear, where the object that you're seeing is very small, and so it makes it difficult for your brain to figure out where it is in space relative to you, you have to be really, really careful. And so if you're just sort of like out improvising with somebody and you're working strikes together and stuff like that, you have to be really, really careful about those. You cannot overuse that, because it's very easy for somebody to get like major injuries. Good to see you. Welcome in. Thank you, everybody that's sticking around for class, by the way. All right. I promised the Obiani today because we've been spending a whole lot of time on the base components of the strikes and the footwork, and so we'll do a little bit of spinning. If you can't do a figure 8 yet, you're not ready for the Obiani. If you can't do the forward and backward circle yet, you're not ready for the figure 8. And so I'm going to switch to a shorter blade. Okay, so what is generally called the forward circle? Forward, backward, okay? So what I want to work with both hands. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 1. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2. And just sort of make sure that I can comfortably do the circles on both sides. If I can do them comfortably on one hand, but not on the other hand yet, one of the things that's going to help my brain develop better is if I work on being able to do both. And so 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. All right. So everybody get that part? So the forward and backward circle is first. If you can comfortably do a forward circle and transition into a backward circle at any moment, when your body's repeating a motion, after you've done it, after your brain's done it about 3 times, it's harder to stop or harder to change than to continue doing it. And so if I do 4 or 5 circles, I'm just going to kind of go without counting. We know that's more than 3. And I want to be able to just kind of live switch, okay? And once I can do that, then I can make sure I'm ready for the figure 8. Then I can start worrying about the OBN, okay? And so the figure 8, we have a couple of different ways to do this one. We're going to start with the upward circle figure 8 or the backwards figure 8 rather than the forward circle, okay? Because it fits with a forehand strike a little bit more neatly. And this is going to fit in with the strike pattern that we already have. And so if you think about it this way, I have 8, or excuse me, I have 4, and then 7. So this is the figure 8 big motions. So my hand has to turn over in between the strikes to make it happen. After it does that, I can make my movement smaller. And right now I've got my hand happening on one side of my body, my hand happening on the other side of the body. That's the big circle. Okay? Done. If you're doing this one-handed, you're not sure what to do with the other hand, there are many martial arts that what you do is you take your hand and you put it on top of your heart so that if somebody wants to try to stab you, they got to go through your hand before they can get to your chest, before they can get to your heart. And so if you see people going through motions and they take this hand and they just kind of hold it there, that's where that comes from. That's most commonly out of Philippine martial arts, but there are a bunch of other martial arts that have that same thing. I shouldn't be covering up my logo. That was a bad choice on my part. Anyway, but so from the side, here's the big circle, upward figure 8. You can put your hand in your pocket if you want, it doesn't matter. Right? Now we make it smaller. It's happening from my wrist. Tom, may the force be with you too. Thank you. So we have our steps. I got about 4 minutes left, so I want to hurry. Forward circle, backward circle. And then I should be able to transition from my forward circle to my backward circle to my upward figure eight. And if I can't do that yet, I should work on that. Right? Then once I can do that, make sure lefty can too. Or if you're left-handed, make sure righty can too. Okay? So you want to be able to practice from dominant hand to non-dominant hand just because of how that kind of works. Okay? Now, forward figure eight. I can do the forward figure eight the same way that I was doing the upward figure eight, but it creates a transition that's a little bit more awkward when I go to shrink it. Because I actually have to kind of flip the way that it happens. And so the upward figure eight is really easy to have be cut, transition, cut, transition, cut. Okay? Forward figure eight, downward figure eight doesn't work that well. All right? And so what I actually have to do is I hit, not here, because this figure eight doesn't shrink very well. Okay? It's actually the point coming back is where the forward figure eight switches. So I've got a forward circle, and then if the point chases backwards, that's the small motion forward figure eight. Point backwards, backwards, backwards. Does that make sense? Because if I switch to a staff or a long weapon, I'm holding the middle. The upward figure eight is the thumb side of my grip. The forward figure eight or the downward figure eight is actually the pinky side of my grip. Okay? But if I take this and reverse grip it, quick, somebody tag Cell Sword Arts, then that's this figure eight. And with a small circle, it's okay. But for big circle, the way your elbow's got a kind of chicken wing is a problem for how it fits in with stuff. Okay? So we've got forward figure eight where the tip goes backwards. You've got upward figure eight, kind of like a golf swing. And you want to be able to transition from all of your forward and backward circles to your figure eights. Because if I have my forward circle and I can transition that to my backward circle, well, I can transition my backward circle to my upward figure eight really comfortably. And I can transition that to my upward circle, which I can transition to my forward circle, which I can turn into a forward figure eight. And so practice bouncing. And you have to do all of that before you OB in. Because if you can't do any of that, you're not going to be able to OB any. And once you can do all of that, then you're going to have the wrist, elbow, and shoulder flexibility plus the core strength to do the OB any. That's a very good shirt. Wherever you got it from, that person must have been a good person. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap up class for today. So we got through a bunch of stuff. We'll get this up on the YouTube, and I will see you again soon. May the force be with you, everybody. Oh, does anybody have any questions? ZW, thank you very much. Durability demonstration. Anybody else? KB, I'm glad I could please you. If you really, really want to dive into spinning and improving your flexibility and your dexterity and stuff, something that can be good is going from some of the circles into tosses, even if it's just to kind of switch hands. And so if I'm here, whatever, being able to bounce it to catch it. Now, one of the things that's nice about the Obiani is because there's a part of the circle that happens in front of you, there's an easy spot to toss. But you can do that with any upward circle. It's harder with the downward circles because the direction is going to be kind of forward and downward instead of upward. But you can still work those in. All right, everybody, I'm gonna call it a day, at least for now. I've got a couple of things I need to take care of before I go pick up my kids from school. It was good to see everybody. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.